consistent. We're being consistent. Third week in a row. You're doing good. You're doing good.
So, hello again, everyone, and welcome to yet another episode of Legacy of the King.
The podcast for men by men.
Yes, all that good stuff. So,
Today's episode.
before today's episode, um, again, we want to remind you guys, as usual, that we are on the three major podcasting platforms: Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify. And also, if you guys like our content, please feel free to leave a like, subscribe, and share to both friends and family. We'd appreciate it very much.
What he said.
So, today's episode is Nobody Cares About Men's Mental Health. Well, boy, what a statement, huh? What a statement. But it's very true, unfortunately.
It's true to an extent. Obviously, it's not nobody.
Yeah.
Right? But there's a majority of the first world population that doesn't care about mental health.
No, I know.
Men's mental health, I should say.
I know there are many things behind that.
Of course, there are many things behind that.
That's the reason why.
Yeah, there are many things behind that. Mental health people care about. The general mental health people care about. Men's mental health, however, is a polarizing topic. It's polarizing because people have they have an assumption about men that is to an extent kind of untrue. And that assumption is men are strong and we don't need help like that. Right? We don't need support. They wouldn't come out and say it. But it's implied. We don't need help. We don't need support. We don't need an ear to listen to us. Women's mental health, all over it. Everyone cares about women's mental health. And rightfully so, from postpartum depression, obviously that's a serious thing. The stresses of life, things that women have to go through, obviously, is something that should be spoken about. Should always be spoken about. However, that kind of attention isn't equally given to the men and the things that they have to go through. A lot of people assume that the men have nothing to worry about because the world is built the world is built for men, by men. But as a man, we experience something different. And there's so many aspects, and some of them we'll get into today. But there are so many aspects of the reality that we live in that other people can't seem to understand. The reality that we live in isn't the reality that people believe exists.
I want you to, if you don't mind, bro, if you could expand a little bit more on that.
Why I said the reality that we live in isn't the reality that people believe exists is it's kind of piggybacking on what I said previously when I said um, they think that men built the world for men, and therefore we have every advantage in it. But the reality is, yes, men built the world. However, the way things are right now, men who are not in the top 1% of 1% experience a different reality in the sense that we are disadvantaged in many ways. I'm not going to get into the most glaring way yet, but one of the things is that from birth we have to fight. We can't make it on looks in this world. We have to make it on competence. We have to make it on resources. We have to make it on uh, our network. We have to make it on our net worth. Not everyone has that experience. The ladies have a different experience.
That's very true. That's very true. And every day we see it.
Of course, we
Just
see it every
just
day.
just today I went out and I saw um the interactions between men and women, women and women, women and men, men and men. And the men really get the bad end of the stick because of what you just said. You know, the perception that people have of how men are, or rather how they think men are, and how men should be. And we need to do as much as we can to say something about it, as well as try to change it. The reason why I say that is because if we don't, well, we, again, as I mentioned before in previous episodes, we see how things are currently and where they can be heading. So if we don't, then it will get progressively worse. I don't know what the outcome could be. I don't want to think about it, but I prefer to think about the change that could happen, and like mental health, men's mental health. Yes, we spoke about it briefly before. We spoke about things that we want to do coming up, right? But at the same time, even though we spoke about it briefly and very lightly, it goes very, very deep, right? And I think, well, we wouldn't be able to cover everything in this episode. Um, and we want to leave some of the deeper, greater aspects for another forum, another platform. So at least we could get a little more in depth and possibly get some feedback on it, from the greater community. So let's get into some of the other things relating to men's mental health.
Okay. So where I want to start at the very beginning. As children, again, this is not all parents, but a lot of parents treat their sons very, very differently to their daughters. I'm not saying they shouldn't, but in terms of the way in which they're disciplined, the way in which the parents react when the child has an accident, a little girl is treated very differently to a little boy.
Mhm.
If a little boy falls and starts to cry because he gashed his knee, it get up and dust it off. Don't cry, big boys don't cry. If a little girl falls and gashes her knee, oh no, oh my goodness, what happened? Let mommy kiss it. Let daddy kiss it. Is it better? You feel better? Yesterday, the boy gashed his knee. But less care is taken. Not necessarily physical care, because obviously the parent would clean the cut and so on and put the bandage on both children. However, the emotional care, the mental care is different. And at that age, a boy realizes, not consciously, but subconsciously, a boy realizes that in order to be recognized in this world, I'm going to have to work a lot harder. That is why we see the things going on now with young men being in illegal activities and so on. Because it's not necessarily uh, that it's not necessarily the case that that person is bad. It could be just a cry for attention, especially growing up in a home where there was no father and the mother doesn't like the father or despises the father. Anytime that boy has a misstep, the worst punishments, and you remind me of so much of your father, worthless. Those words, those kinds of words, have an effect on those boys that are going to become teenage boys that are going to become young men. And parents, a lot of parents don't realize how much words have an impact on these young boys.
Um, as we on this point, what uh, what is the impressionable age for children, especially young boys, to be affected by things of this nature?
Four, between 4 and 10, between the ages of 4 and 10, the things that you say to a young boy can shape his entire world.
Hmm.
And there's very little you can do when he hits the preteen and teenage years. If you don't do 4 to 10 right, you're in for a lot of problems from 11 to 20.
Would you say that's also the case? No, I know we focus on boys and men, but is that also the case for
Of
girls?
course,
The
of course,
same age
of
group
course,
between 4 to 10.
of course.
And that would also take into consideration not just the way that the parents treat the children, both men, sorry, both boys and girls, but also what they see in the household,
Of course, yeah.
as in the interaction between the mother and the father.
Or
And
if
as I
there's even
say,
a father around.
right, if there is even a father, and also what they say to each other and about each other.
Mm.
Because I've heard so many times of recent, um, some of my coworkers, and they mention, certain things that their children are doing now that, one could probably sum up into the rebellious years. Some might say even that the rebellious years are in between a range, actually. It's not solely between teenager, as in the prime teenager between 13 and 15 or so, but it could be between 16 to 19 as well, right? So based on that conversation, it's interesting to see and know the effects. And I think it's important for people to have the information again, um, on this, so they'll be better equipped, they'll be better able to have a little more control, a little more handle on things, and how to proceed in going forward. Um, Hopefully, not too much damage has already been done, and yeah. So I think again, we could just do the best that we could to provide whatever information that we have to our viewing audience, and hopefully things change.
Viewing and listening
Viewing
audience.
and listening audience, yes.
And I think one of the uh, things that parents need to remember: your child will see and interact with the world based on who and what influences them the most.
I could attest to that.
Your job is not to just clothe and feed them. Your job is to influence them in such a way that they see the world not in a rigid way, but with a template that allows them to be contributive. Because as much as you try to deny it, that child is not necessarily your child. Yes, it's your child, but it's also society's child. Because when they get older and they leave your house, they have to interact with society. And the way in which they interact with society is completely and totally, I shouldn't say completely and totally, but let's say 90% your responsibility, the way in which they interact with society. Obviously, they have a mind of their own and they can decide to go whichever way they choose in the end. But it's better you say, I tried, than have regrets.
Mhm.
And this is the case for mostly the young men. Yes, The young ladies have the issues too. But like I mentioned earlier, women's mental health is taken more seriously than men's mental health. When uh, when a man loses a job, no one feels sorry. When he has been trying to get a new one, no one feels sorry. People start to say, even though they don't know his story, they start to say, he's worthless. He's been out of a job for 5 months. All he does is stay home.
And some would even, without knowing the full story, they might even say he's a bum, he's not doing anything, he's not trying to go out
He's
and
not
get.
right. But while you're in work, he probably might have gone to 11 interviews that day or 5 or 6 interviews that day and got turned down by all of them. He has the qualifications, he has the experience, he got turned down. Things are slightly different for the ladies. Not all of you.
Of course. And also, not all men
And
are
not all,
trying.
and not all men are trying either. So let me just say this. One of the things that we try to do on this podcast is not generalize.
Not paint everybody with the same brush.
We are very conscious about the things that we say. So anytime I'm talking about a particular demographic, I always say a lot of, or most, or if I actually have the facts or statistics, I would give statistics. I would never say women
All women,
or all women or men or all
all
men.
men.
We say things that will allow you to realize that there are exceptions to the rule.
In each case.
So when you hear us say something, don't assume that we're generalizing. We are very much aware that not all women are experiencing a certain way of life. Not all men are hardworking. Not all men are family men. Not all women are promiscuous. Not all women bash men. We are very much aware of that. What we're saying, and what a lot of the podcasts like ours are saying, is that the amount of men that are not doing what they're supposed to do and the amount of women that are not doing what they're supposed to do is too much. And we need to reduce that because society is not getting any better because of it. There are more divorces now than ever, more single parent households now more than ever. There are more men going through mental problems.
More men committing suicide.
A lot more men committing suicide.
I think there are even more men in jail, in prison.
Yeah, there are more men. There are more men in prison. There are more men committing suicide. More men are murdered. More violent acts are done on men. So the world that men built isn't helping men that much. So for the women that understand and actually care about the well-being of men, thank you. we all appreciate you. But for the women that believe that men don't need help and men have the advantage, you are, I'm sorry to say, but somewhat delusional.
And those who keep on talking about the patriarchy built this and that again, what you alluding to what you just said about men have it all and this world is only about men and this and that and men can get away with anything. If you take a look around you, if you're observant, you will see that that statement is very much not true.
I'll give a good example. Right now, in our generation, women can perform lewd acts on social media and not be banned. A man just has to say a few controversial things and be banned from all platforms. Just has to say a few controversial things and he's banned from all platforms.
And to add to what you're saying, bro, the women who portray themselves in that way get the most likes
Yeah.
from both men and women.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And on top of that, some of the comments under those posts, yes, independent, flames, strong woman.
Mm-hmm. Yes, sis. You do you.
So there's even encouragement for it.
Of course. And I'm not saying that you can't do that. According to according to a lot of women right now, it's their body. They could do what they want. I don't disagree. But what I'm saying is that there are obvious double standards. But we don't complain. Right? We don't complain. Men have been slandered for being able to do the things that men do. Right? Women now they don't like and simple things. They don't like the fact that a group of men can come together and behave like children for like 2 hours. They don't like that. Like we're having too much fun. That's wrong. But have you thought of have you thought of it like this? That maybe that's the only chance they get to be happy. Again, this is not the case for all men,
And not the case for all women either.
and not the case for all women either. But for the ones that get upset about men coming getting together and being like children again and playing the fool and maybe there's something missing in the way you're interacting with your companion if your companion is one of those men. Do you every time he comes home after a long day of work quarrel with him about the things that he didn't do or forgot to do. When he needs love from you, you weaponize your love. So you you withhold your attention, you withhold sex, you withhold your care because he either forgot to do something, didn't do something, whatever it was. That is not how relationships should go. As much as you want him to do things for you, he wants you to do things for him. It goes both ways. That's what a relationship, a marriage is for.
And I'd just like to interject by saying that please, if either party, men or women, don't think that that is the case, please do not get into a relationship.
If you feel as though, if you feel as though you don't think you need to do those things for your husband or for your boyfriend or for your fiance, you shouldn't be in a relationship. A relationship is not for you to be showered with gifts and attention and love, and he gets nothing except sex whenever you feel like giving it to him.
Facts.
A relationship is romantic exchange. Obviously, not all the time is romance, but it's exchange, and we're not counting.
It's companionship.
It's companionship, and we're not counting how much times you give and how much times I give. We're in a relationship, and we're in a relationship, and well, what we're supposed to be in a relationship for is not for fun. A relationship is not for fun. You get into a relationship with the intent to get married. That is what it's for. It's not to have fun. If you want to have fun, don't get into a relationship. Go and have fun. Find other people that want to have fun and have fun with them. Don't get into a relationship to have fun.
And don't have fun and call it a relationship.
Ah, yes. Don't have fun and call it a relationship. Because you're gonna end up in problems. You're gonna end up asking one of of the two parties gonna end up asking the question. So what are we? Usually the girl asks that question.
Well, these days.
These days the guy is asking the question. We're not going to get into why
Yes.
that happens,
Correct.
but in the past, the girl would ask that question and the guy would say, well, we- in America, they say, well, we're just chilling. We're just kicking it.
And again, just to reiterate, this is not across the board. This is just some. This is a majority in some cases, not all.
Even though I know for sure at some point when this goes out, people are going to clip up the section that we say this is not all. They're going to clip that part out
Take it out of context.
and
Yeah.
put it out there completely out of context.
Yeah. Like what these fellas say.
Like you believe men again? But hey, comes with the territory.
So I just want to backtrack a little bit um, on the point you made about the posts on social media with women that they could wear whatever dress, however, and men just say controversial things and get banned. Together with that, you mentioned that you said that it can't, you're not saying that they can't do that, but there are always consequences.
Of course, of course. And one of the biggest consequences is your access to relationship, your access to marriage.
And how people, both men and women, view you or think of you.
Yeah.
Because, as you know, social media is a particular platform which is vastly different from reality.
Hmm.
So people may actually be posting and commenting all sorts of things, but in reality, they think very different.
But I would also argue and say that even though they are posting lewd photos, lewd videos, I don't think they're getting as much backlash as we think.
That may also be true.
Yeah, I don't think they're getting as much backlash as we think.
And especially now, as
Yeah,
it's
I'm
so
talking about. Yeah, I'm talking
rampant.
about now. I'm talking
Yeah.
about now. Yeah, I don't think they're getting as much backlash as we think they're getting.
When it first started, well, yeah, they probably.
Like in the
That's
'90s,
correct.
maybe
Correct.
in the '90s, yeah. But now,
Mm,
no. Like, think about it. It's all about the music.
that's true.
Like things like what we're doing now. When guys talking about uh, men's issues, men's mental health, helping men elevate, thinking about their career, thinking about their image, learning how to brand themselves, learning how to be better men, be better husbands, fathers. These things don't get airtime.
All the positive things.
These things don't get airtime. What gets airtime? Music about guns, about sex,
Tweaking.
twerking, right? And
Also, sadness
yeah, sadness is a sad music is a
is a big thing
big thing now
in every genre.
in every
Yeah,
genre. It's a big thing now, and that is kind of perpetuating a lot of the mental issues that people are having.
correct.
But here's the difference. Like I said at the beginning, people care about women's mental health more than they do about men's mental health.
Yeah,
Because when a guy loses his job, no one cares. When a guy get just got evicted, no one cares. If a guy if a guy gets cheated on, they laugh. If a girl gets cheated on, people feel sorry for her. Like, I can't believe he did that to you. You're so much like you're too good for him. He doesn't
hmm
deserve you.
that fella's a waste of
Yeah,
time.
these are waste of time.
They'll study that
Just
girl
study
too.
that. You get a one who will treat you so much better.
And then on top of that, you have fellas telling the girls, "I will treat you like a king. I will treat you
like a like
like
a
a queen,
like a
like as a king,
as a king should.
as a king should." Yes,
Uh, yeah, that's what they say. We know the reason why they
of
say,
course,
but
of course.
yeah, that's what they say.
But on top of that, the if you look at the music, the sad music that is being produced, is mostly men singing it. Mostly men. That's what I've realized.
Uh,
You know, because I've heard at least 3 new releases this week.
wow,
That's why I'm saying that 3 new releases, different artists,
wow.
different genres, sad music from men.
And when you think of like some of the artists, the male artists that would have passed away over the past 2 or 3 years, a lot of their music was sad.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Juice WRLD, uh, Tentacion, those are the two I know for sure. Like their music was very sad, and I know that Tentacion especially spoke about the things that he was going through mentally.
Even this guy Chester from Linkin Park.
Yeah, yeah. And again, no one cares about the mental health of a man. I I lost a teammate, a cricket teammate, through suicide about 4 years ago now. For Americans, cricket is a sport. For the Americans that don't know, cricket is a sport. Uh, he was a teammate, a schoolmate.
And he was younger than us.
And he was about a year or two younger than us. Um, Successful guy, had everything he needed. I saw him literally the week before, and the week after, I
You got
heard
the
he,
news.
I got the news. And what am I going through? One of the things I continue to say is that men are trying to live up to an expectation that in some cases are unattainable. You have to be wealthy, a gentleman, amazing in bed, over 6 feet, could build a house on your own.
Basically, have everything set.
Yeah,
Self.
everything is set for yourself. But the reality is, a lot of men could never be all six. And you know what happens? They create, how to put it? They create a kind of a alternate world, an alternate world they create. Where in that world they are those things, but in reality, there might be only one. And eventually, reality catches up to that alternate reality. And when reality catches up to that alternate reality, that's when they begin to feel depressed, because they're now beginning to realize that the person that I believed I was, I'm not. The person I try to portray to the world that I am, I'm not. But everyone knows me for that mask, so I can't stop, because how will it look? How would how would I be perceived now? But because they don't want to give up the mask, they fall deeper and deeper and deeper into that depressive state. And eventually, they can't take it anymore. But here's the thing, there's no support that says, listen, you don't have to try to be this. We're not saying don't strive for excellence,
But you don't have to pretend.
but don't pretend to be something or someone that you're not. I'm saying this because I went through it.
Same here.
I was in a depressive state for about 4 years. But here's the thing, I got to a point where I said, I'm not going to lie to myself anymore. Because one thing I know about myself, I knew that I was too intelligent to leave this life without contributing significantly to this world. That's one thing I knew for sure. I didn't know much about myself other than that. But one thing I knew for sure was that I was too smart to give up on this life. All I needed to do was figure out who I really am and not who I was trying to pretend to be.
In my experience, well, I can't remember when I actually took off the mask, but I knew that I had it on for a very long time. And even though I had on the mask, I was still very much aware, very much conscious that somewhere at the back of my mind, I always said that I was better than this. That there has to come a time, a point where this all needs to stop, and I need to be me. And I need to find people, again, going back to tribe, that accept me for me. And also, not really give a shit about anybody else.
Stop trying to please people that don't care about you. Stop trying to fit in to crowds that only tolerate you.
Not celebrate you.
As men, like we mentioned how many episodes ago now, you need to find your own tribe. You need to find the tribe that appreciates you for who you are, but encourages you to be the best version of yourself. You don't have to pretend to be someone else. Stop trying to pretend to be someone else. It's not benefiting you and it's making your life a living hell.
Correct?
Man, I suffered for those 4 years, man. I suffered
Hmm.
because all the things I spoke about, where you get laughed at when you get cheated on, and no one cares if you don't have a job, no one cares if you don't have money, no one. I went through that.
Correct.
So I'm not talking out of thin air.
Hmm.
These are the things I went through.
And on my end, going through things with relationships, going through family issues, going through um, financial issues, together with the mental side of wearing that mask and like trying to struggle through it, trying to be strong, trying to be, again, macho
Mhm.
because you think that's what society says that men should be. I went through it, been through it, and as I mentioned before, I was conscious of the fact that this has to stop, man. This has to stop. I can't keep on going like this, right? The urge to break free was much stronger. To keep on going, that there must be something more to life than at the time what this was, you know. And as I mentioned, I don't know when the mask came off exactly, but what I can say is that when I consciously took off the mask, it was the best thing ever. It was very freeing, right? And yes, it might have a little bit, a little moments where you may slip, you might fall back into some bad habits or whatever the case is, but at least the majority of things not there anymore. You broke free and you're aware of it,
Mm.
you know. That's where change could come and better could come.
Yeah, the remnants of the the costume is still there. That's those are the hardest things to get rid of.
Right. So you're pulling off feathers still,
Yeah,
you're pulling off beads,
yeah,
little glitter here and there.
here and yeah. But you're working on getting rid of it completely,
Hmm.
and that is how you get out of the depressive state. You have to stop trying to be something that you're not,
Correct.
and don't don't end it. Both men and women, but talking to the men right now, don't end it.
Don't give up.
Don't give up. Like I mentioned, like we mentioned, how many episodes ago now? The mere fact that you are alive today, that you were born, is a miracle in itself. Because there were over 1 billion choices, and reality chose you.
And also, in that choice that reality chose you have a purpose.
Yeah,
You have a
like
specific purpose, what you were born to do.
yeah, yeah. I was getting to that point. Like because reality chose you, you have a reason to be here. You have a purpose for living, and you need to find it. Don't try to be something that your parents told you to be, or your teachers told you would be good at. No, you need to find your purpose. Go back to when life was a little more innocent, the things that made you feel alive, the
Mm.
things that you were doing where time
Doesn't
didn't
seem to
exist.
exist.
Those are the things you need to concentrate on. Those are the
Mm.
things you have to rediscover. Don't give up. Don't end it. And don't end it for any reason. Don't end it because of a girl. Don't end it because
You're
friends
depressed.
betrayed you.
Hmm.
Don't end it because your life is not where you think it should be. Look yourself in the mirror. Stop feeling sorry for yourself because that's the thing. That's one of the things that, as men, we have to realize. Currently, no one is going to feel sorry for us, but that doesn't mean we should feel sorry for ourselves.
Hmm. Hmm.
We need to stop feeling sorry for ourselves, dust ourselves off, and figure life out. Life is a puzzle that could be figured out. And I think all of us have the capabilities to figure it out.
Hmm.
Yes, we have choices. Some people choose to not continue, but my advice, try. Try to continue. And try to continue as your authentic self. Don't continue as a persona. Don't continue behind the mask. Don't continue in the costume. Continue as you, the authentic you.
There'll be an avatar.
Please don't be an avatar. I know we're in metaverse now and so on, but please come out of metaverse.
Yes, everything is another image of you. So
Find who you are at your core and embrace that person and bring that person out.
so I have a question, right, bro? Um so because going back to what you said about for us being here, being born, being chosen, having a purpose while we're here, essentially, is our life really ours?
That's going to go into a conversation that we may not have time for because that's a philosophical question, right? The answer is yes and no, but I don't want to go into the details of that. But the answer is yes and no.
Okay.
But guys, we put the topic of this episode as no one cares about men's mental health, but understand that we as men need to get together and care about our own mental health. Stop laughing at your brother if he gets cheated on. Stop laughing at your brother if he loses his job. I'm saying this for me too. Because we, many of us are brought up in different ways. We grew up under different circumstances. We have different experiences. And these things shape the way we live our lives. And some of us are fortunate to get out of bad situations, and others are stuck in bad situations. And I think we need to understand that a lot of these situations that a lot of these men are in or have found themselves in is not necessarily their fault. Now, them staying in the situation, you could argue that it is their fault. However, we have to try to be supportive, even from a distance. Whether it be pray for them, send good vibes their way, whatever it is, hope they get themselves out of the situations that they find themselves in.
At this point, I'd also like to let some the men know, and also the women, but mostly men, that if you find yourself in a difficult situation, if you feel depressed, if you feel sad for whatever situation that has arisen, please do not do things that will contribute to making the situation worse. What I mean by that is, and I'm talking from experience, please do not listen to music that is depressing, is saddening, that encourages and talks about violence and anger. Please don't do that, because you're going to make things worse for yourself. You may not see it up front, but it's going to come out in toxic ways.
Also, if you find yourself in a difficult situation and there are people that are trying to help you, don't abandon the people that are trying to help you. I'm also talking from experience. Because when they're gone, it's just you and the bad experience.
I chuckle because I spoke to somebody recently about that. And I myself know a couple of people who who are in that boat.
Mm-hmm. Me too. So, men, again, I know a lot of men, they're going to hear this and they might laugh
Or they may not take it
or they
seriously.
may not take it seriously until it falls in their garden.
Correct.
But, men, listen to me. We need to be a brotherhood. We need to be our brother's keeper. If we want to make it out of the things that we experience on a daily basis, we have to be our brother's keeper. It's not about getting a one up on the other guy. We have to be our brother's keeper. We have to look out for one another. I'm not saying that you're going to like everybody. I don't like everybody, but I'm not wishing bad on people. Everybody, I want you to win, but I don't have to be there winning while you winning. I could win in my way, you could win in your way. But I don't have to see you winning and thinking negatively of you because you winning
Or try to pull it down.
or try to bring you down. As men, we need to stop doing that. I'm hearing too much music now that is glorifying men taking other men's companion. Like it's a good thing.
Hmm.
We have to look out for one another. We have to take care of our own mental health. Because until we take ourselves seriously again, no one is going to take us seriously.
Facts.
This is one of those
Short ones again.
not only short ones, but this is one of those serious episodes.
Yeah. It's a serious topic.
It's a serious topic, but it's a necessary topic. And yes, it's also a short episode. So I think we could end it on that note. Um, so yeah. So guys, it was an amazing episode again. I enjoyed this conversation. It's something that we needed to talk about. Reminder: we are on all of the major podcasting platforms: Spotify, Google Podcasts, and Apple Podcasts. Um, if you are enjoying what we are talking about, please leave a review, leave a like, share, subscribe. It'll help us a lot to give you better content, better quality content. And yeah,
Drop a comment or two,
leave a comment or two.
and we'll respond.
Hmm. And look out for things coming in the future.
Yes. The forums, the events.
Forums, the events, the merch, the um, consultations, whatever. Look
where we
out for
could
them.
actually go deeper into the philosophical and psychological conversations.
Yeah,
You know.
yeah. So everyone, another amazing episode. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening.
Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for joining us for another episode of Legacy of the King podcast. Um, this podcast has been one of the better decisions that I've made in my life. And I have no regrets in starting this with you. And here's to many more episodes.
There's still many more. And yes, I myself, this has been one of the best decisions, being a co-host as well with you on this podcast. And again, we gotta continue to encourage each other, because that's what part of being a tribe, being a brotherhood, and being accountable and helping each other with our own mental health.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right. So thanks again, everyone, and we'll see you in the next one. Take care.
Take care and stay strong.
Stay strong.